All right. Well, guys, this is more of the same. And it's still fucking infuriating. It is still so grating that you cannot imagine that this is even a thing. According to insiderpaper.com, Facebook asserts in the court filing that fact checks created by third-party organizations and used to remove content or to suspend users are nothing more than, you're reading that right, protected opinions. Beyond this threshold Section 2013 problem, the complaint also fails to state a claim for defamation. For one, Stossel, as in the Stossel, who is a libertarian who has had his Facebook accounts closed down and censored because he said things that Facebook didn't like and has been summarily deplatformed or at least shadow banned for his efforts, fails to plead facts establishing that Meta acted with actual malice, which as a public figure he must. For another, Stossel's claims focus on the fact-check articles written by Climate Feedback, not the labels affixed through the Facebook platform. So they're trying to separate themselves from their fact-checkers, which is bullshit because their fact-checkers are funded by Facebook. These fact-checkers do Facebook's bidding because that's what they're literally paid to do. Follow the money, dipshits. This is basic organized crime established law. The precedent is set that if you pay someone to do a service, they're expected to do that service in your favor according to your own will and pleasure. So, the labels themselves are neither false nor defamatory. To the contrary, they constitute protected opinion. So the articles that they are citing to ban people, they're trying to fall back on free speech to say, oh, we're using another person's free speech to ban you as a quote-unquote protected opinion, and they think that this claim is going to uphold in the court of law. And I really hope it doesn't. I really hope that the court looks at this and laughs at it. Because you can't use free speech to shut down another person's free speech in an open platform. The exercise of power, the inequality there does not make you a platform. It turns you into a publisher, and you should be held accountable thereof. So, it continues that even if Stossel could attribute Climate Feedback's separate web pages to Meta, the challenge statements on those pages are likewise neither false or defamatory. We're not saying that the claims are themselves false or defamatory, which they are. What we're saying is that Facebook uses these false claims, these protected opinions, as grounds to ban and censor content that they claim not to be curating as a platform. Any of these failures would doom Stossel's complaint, but the combination makes any amendment futile. They are blowing hot air through their assholes and are asking you to breathe it in. So, let's, they also say that it runs a claim of California's anti-slap statute, which is also bullshit. When you limit someone's reach on Facebook which is, by the way, a service that you pay for through Facebook advertising. I don't know if y'all know this, but Stossel pays for reach that Facebook failed to provide because they don't like his views. They took his money. Don't get me wrong. They took his money for the ad content, but they curiously decided, we're not going to give you your reach. In fact, we're going to throttle your visibility. So it continues. Meta Platforms, formerly known as Facebook, has admitted in a court filing that its fact checks are merely protected opinions. Every time I read that, my blood just starts to boil. It is so blatant and so brazen. Every time I read it, it just never stops making my asshole clench and my teeth grind. It is just one of those things. The court filing was entered in response to a lawsuit filed by libertarian pundit John Stossel, who claimed that one of Facebook's fact checks inserted on a video defamed him and was misleading. That's also true. In addition to throttling his visibility, they also responded with a video that defamed him. That's a whole new other level of bullshit right here. Court filing Facebook fact checks were protected opinions. In response, Facebook argued that the so-called fact check was actually an opinion rather than an actual check and statement on the facts. Opinions are protected from libel accusations, releasing the person or identity that made the statements from any liability. On the other hand, statements labeled as fact make the person or entity making them subject to a libel lawsuit for defamation. Now, even if Facebook is making this argument that these fact check labels are just protected opinions, and because they're opinions, you can't sue us for them, if you presented them as facts, which you do, you're still liable and subject to libel lawsuit for defamation. You are still held liable for lying. I hope to God this bites Facebook in the ass. I really hope this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. I'll be honest, I'm not huffing hopium at this point. Like, there is no hope. There's only just raw reality and precedent and common law here. Because if these assholes have any wiggle room, the powers that be will grant them that privilege. But I don't think they can escape this one. At least I'm hoping they don't. Whatever decision is made by the court, the filing and the lawsuit are a public relations disaster for Meta platforms. No shit. The statement in the court filing that the so-called fact checks are nothing but protected opinion places Facebook in a precarious position. Again, no shit, because if you're a meme lord, shit lord, we're all sharing this bullshit, by the way. That meme's going to be sent off like wildfire, because Facebook deserves it. Facebook deserves to have this memed out for eternity. The problem for Meta platforms, if the court doesn't agree with the claim, then the company is liable for libel and defamation of character, which they are. On the other hand, if the court does accept their claim, then it indicates that Meta platforms has been misleading its users by claiming that its fact checks were actual checks of the facts rather than someone's opinion. Yeah, we actually get to do the intelligent thing, follow the money, and see whose opinions are these really? Who paid for this opinion to be posted down at the bottom of my post questioning the validity and reality of X thing? Normally it's COVID, but, you know. It could easily and has been other things. Oh, fact check, this is partly false. Or this is misleading. We've all seen these labels. Meta Platforms doesn't actually carry out the tasks it refers to as fact checking. The company hires outside, left-leaning parties to supposedly check the facts. For anyone who doesn't hold views in line with the liberal left, can confirm, and it may seem obvious for some time that the social network has its own agenda. The court filing states that the so-called fact checks are merely opinions that proves the Meta Platforms doesn't do any fact-checking at all. And here is where I'd like to cut the bullshit. Meta Platforms not only doesn't do any fact-checking, they tell their fact-checkers what opinions to have, what quote-unquote fact checks to produce and present to the audience of Facebook. They pay to have an agenda pushed. That's what's happening here. And it's finally being revealed when Facebook has to step back and go, oh, no, these statements that we made, which were categorically proven to be false, are not fact checks at all. They're opinions, and because they're opinions, we're protected. You would have been protected if you hadn't curated. if you hadn't edited someone's content, if you hadn't shat on someone else's intellectual property and product, you wouldn't have this problem. But you did. You not only throttled their visibility, you defamed them in your quote unquote opinion piece. You editorialized. And that's the crux of the issue. Facebook editorialized where they should have had no right to do so. And I really hope to God that this ends this Section 230 bullshit. Because it needs to end, and it needs to end sooner rather than later. Well, I thought this was a good thing to go over with y'all, to be able to investigate, to be able to actually read up on, because we've seen the memes, but it's good to have confirmation. So this was at least one of the articles that I found that gave a lot of information about this scenario. So, stay carnal. God bless everyone. Bye-bye.